Hello everybody, it's Jeff and Shane with Razor Heating.
Today we're going to talk about the differences between a tank style and a tankless style water heater and how to choose the right one for your home.
We're also going to discuss the pros and cons of each to help you make the right decision. Tankless water heater works by recognizing when you open a tap. When you open a tap, water flows through the heat exchanger on the tankless water heater. It recognizes that, fires up the burner, and starts producing hot water. Let's take the cover off and have a look inside. So, how does this thing work? This particular model is a Navian NPE 2A model with a built-in recirculation and a buffer tank. It learns your habits and it learns when it should be turned on and maintaining hot water. So it will probably in the morning, it will warm up and it'll just keep a little bit of warm water in the buffer tank so that when you open the tap, it works more like a tank style water heater and hot water comes out immediately. When you open the tap, there's a flow sensor in here. It's going to recognize that there's flow and it's going to fire up the burner and quickly start producing hot water at the desired temperature. There's not much, again, for a homeowner to maintain in here. There is an inlet screen up here that needs to come out and be cleaned periodically. There are inlet filters on the water lines, there and there. And then descaling the water heater would be the other maintenance item. You usually run some kind of a descaler or vinegar type solution through it to break down the calcium deposits and keep the thing running at its maximum efficiency. If you are mechanically inclined as a homeowner, you can probably handle that yourself. Usually we'll put a plumbing kit on, which allows you to close the valves to the system, open the valves to the plumbing kit, and just put the solution through with a pump. So the manufacturer recommends descaling the water heater probably once a year. It's a good idea to stay on top of it. If you're not going to do it yourself, call a contractor, I guess, and they can come in and do the descaling for you, clean the inlet filters and the water filters. On the Navian, there's really not much to do on the burner. It's sort of a sealed unit, so you don't get in there very often. So that's generally how a tankless water heater works and what's involved in the maintenance of it. Tank style water heater holds 40 or 50 gallons typically. It's got a burner at the bottom that senses the temperature of the water, opens the gas valve, starts the fire, and heats the tank up. Cold water comes in on the one side, goes down a dip tube, goes down to the bottom of the tank, and pushes the hot water up and out the hot water line. As far as maintenance goes on these tanks, there's not much for a homeowner to do. You basically just got to keep it clean, keep the dust away from the cooling fins on the fan and the inlet screen on the water or on the burner. The burner itself is all enclosed. You really shouldn't be opening that unless you know what you're doing. So that's where you would get a qualified gas technician to come in and pull the burner, clean the pilot assembly, and clean the louvered inlet screen that's in the bottom of the tank. Keeping an eye on the vents outside is also a good idea in the wintertime. In summertime too, birds or kids can put rocks in the vents sometimes. So that's how a tank style water heater works and what you need to do to maintain it. What are the benefits to switching to a tankless water heater? Space savings is an obvious one. It's quite a bit smaller than a regular tank, so you'll save some room in the mechanical room. Endless hot water is, I guess, probably the number one reason you would want to put a tankless water heater in if you have a large family or just teenage kids that like to take long showers. You're never going to run out of hot water with a tankless water heater. Efficiency would be another huge benefit. This tankless water heater is about 96–98% efficiency versus a tank, you're looking at about 67% sort of on the top end. On top of that, Sask Energy has a $1,000 rebate on the tankless water heater right now, so it brings the cost down substantially to where it's a lot more comparable to just replacing it with a regular power vent water heater. It's really not that tough at all. Obviously, keeping with the tank style water heater is going to be a little bit easier. It's going to come out and go in right in the same place, reconnect the venting, but no little changes to the water lines and the gas line. Putting in a tankless water heater is going to be a little bit more involved. You're going to have to find a space on the wall for this, extend the venting, and then run the water lines over to it. It's not a huge deal, but it is more work than putting a tank in.
We'll either run a recirculation line off of this guy to the farthest fixture if it's capable. If we're not able to do that because of drywalled ceilings, things like that, we can put in a NaviCirc to still give you the recirculation benefits of a tankless water heater.
tank like this is what we call a power vent water heater. It plugs into 120 volts and it's going to have diagnostic trouble codes down on the gas valve. You'll see lights flashing or lights are on, some sort of combination of that. There will be a sticker on the front of the water heater that should allow you to cross-reference what the lights are doing and what problem you're having with the water heater. Most problems aren't going to be something that a homeowner can solve themselves, but there are certain things. A blocked vent in the wintertime, the exhaust can freeze up, or something could get stuck in it, bird or whatever. So that might be something you could check. We see dip tubes break on tank style water heaters periodically. Basically, the cold water comes in on the cold, goes through a pipe all the way to the bottom of the tank, and then that lifts the hot water out of the tank through the hot. So if that dip tube breaks off in the tank, you're going to get the cold water coming in and then immediately comes out the hot, and you'll get hot water for a couple minutes, but then it'll go cold. So tank style water heaters also have anode rod in them. In the Saskatoon area, we don't have a lot of problem with aggressive water, so we don't see a lot of people changing them, but it is something that you can do as a maintenance item. Probably the biggest thing that we see with tank style water heaters and premature failure is the expansion tank. In Saskatoon, we're required to put a check valve on the incoming water. When you do that, the water can't expand out to the city main anymore. So you end up with a cold water tank, say at 70 psi, and when it heats up, the water expands. It's got nowhere to expand to, so the pressure in the tank goes up, and it will either blow the relief valve on the tank, or it will, over time, distort the tank and to the point where it's leaking. So an easy thing for a homeowner to do is to learn how to check and adjust the pressure on your expansion tank. I'm not going to go into that here. It's a little bit involved, but it's a good idea to just keep an eye on it, at least make sure that there's air in the tank. Tankless water heater is going to have a display on the front, at least a Navien tankless water heater will have a display on the front, and it's going to give you all kinds of error codes if there's something wrong with it. If you're seeing a trouble code on the screen, sometimes they'll correspond to a venting or an airflow air pressure switch problem. The first thing you'd want to check would be the venting outside. If it happened to freeze up, if there was a snowstorm or something like that, you can suck in some snow into the intake, which can freeze it, or a bird or whatever might be in there. So that would be the first place to start. The air intake screen would be the second thing. Otherwise, it really depends on what kind of code you have on there. One other problem that we see on tankless water heaters a lot of times is the water flow sensor fails. It's definitely more common on the older ones. They seem to have improved the water flow sensors on the new ones, but basically if you turn the tap on and there's water flowing through the water heater, the tank needs to recognize that there's water flowing. So if the water flow sensor sticks, nothing's going to show on your water or on your display. It's going to look like there's nothing wrong. There's going to be an error code or anything because it doesn't even know there's water going through it. So water flow sensor is something internal. You take the cover off and replace the flow sensor. It's not a terribly difficult job, but probably not something the typical homeowner is going to want to tackle.
With that in mind, hopefully it helps you choose which one is right for your home. And if you're in the Saskatoon area, give us a call at 306-384-4200 or visit razorheating.com and we can come out and have a look and give you a free estimate.